What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to O'Leary's Garden, where life is a garden. Today, I'm going to talk to you about an experience that I had with the one and only Jack Spirko. Jack Spirko is the host and the creator and everything else of the Survival Podcast. And I am a huge fan of this man. I always will be, and I have been since the day I found him. And there have been times that I have consumed a little too much alcohol. I don't think I would have called him if I hadn't. There actually was another time I had a little too much to drink, and I sent him an email, and it was really long. And he was talking about it on the show, like the next day or so. He said something about reading emails from listeners, and he says, except when you tell me my time is valuable and then you proceed to write 50,000 words. I don't read that one. Apparently I'm that guy. I think it was me. It was so close in time that it would make sense. Sorry. So there have been some times that I drank a little too much, and I called Jack Spirko with the question, or with the listener call, that kind of thing. And I did one in, I don't know, April? I just got done watching this documentary by Janet Osbard. In my call, I said Jane Osbard. He gave me all kinds of shit for that, for saying Jane instead of Janet. Anyway, it got into some real crazy shit at the end. And I just could not wrap my head around it. I'll mention this a little later. I'm going to share the clip with you. It's possible that Jack won't like this. But I'm not coming from a malicious place in any way. I thought most of what Jack had to say. In the beginning, he kind of he made fun of me pretty hard, and that's my sense of humor. My friends and I are assholes to each other. I've called my two best friends fat pieces of shit on this YouTube channel, and they loved it. And I loved it. That's how we talk to each other. So, in no way do I have any hard feelings about anything that he said. He says himself that he only watched 35 minutes of the documentary, and the thing, I was too drunk to to make this clear in my call that I was talking about, or I was asking him about the stuff at the end. So he watched the 35 minutes, and I think he assumed that I was questioning the existence of the deep state, which, I mean, that makes sense. Whatever. I don't care. I still thought it was awesome, and I got Jack Spirko to make fun of me for like 20-something minutes, almost 15 minutes. I got Jack Spirko to make fun of me for 15 minutes. That's awesome. Honestly, I'm honored to be made fun of by Jack Spirko. I really am. So this all happened in episode 2691. It's titled "Listener Calls for 7/16/20." I looked it up, and he has an episode that's double numbered. Another one that was 2691, and it was the expert counsel show for 7/20/20, I think, or 7/10/20. Episode 2691 is double numbered. Just so you know, Jack, got to fix that shit. So I come in about 12 minutes and 30 seconds. But it was a really good episode. There's really good stuff that he had to say right in the beginning. He goes on about your dash. If you ever watch Jack Spirko, he's got the stuff to say about making the most of your dash. Because when you die, there's going to be two numbers on your thing, on your headstone. You're going to be the day you're born and the day you died. And in between is a little dash. And that dash is you. I love that man. And then he goes more and he talks a little bit about being a pig instead of a cow. If you listen to Jack, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't know, or you're not listening to Jack, you should be. You can find him at thesurvivalpodcast.com. And you ought to listen to the beginning of this episode. He's doing a quote of the day now. And the episode, or the quote of the day in this episode was Bob Marley. It is a really good one. And he had a lot to say about it, and it's something you should hear. So, from there, let's go ahead and dive into this. Hopefully Jack isn't going to give me a hard time about using a clip from his show on my YouTube channel. I don't think he will, because, like I said, this is not from a malicious standpoint, and I'm encouraging you to go listen to his show. Not that I have that many viewers right now, but I'm still going to be recommending that man. If and when I turn this into something else, or this does turn into something else. Depending on all you people out there, if you like the things I've got to say. So anyway, here's the clip.
Let's talk about the state, in this case the deep state. I got a call for you here, and I'll come back with some thoughts on it, and I'll tell you the utility that this documentary may or may not have, depending on where you are in your walk. And we'll talk a little bit about like baby liberty movement people, like baby activists, the new ones that just got born into the world, and what we can learn about that.
Hey Jack, this is Zach Leary. My question for you is about Jane Osbart. I don't know if you've heard of her or if you've seen her 3-hour documentary on the deep state, but I was curious about your take on it. I know you don't like to put politics in the show and whatnot, but you're the fucking man.
You're the fucking man, Jack.
You know, and I want to know what you thought about it, if you'd seen it. And I know you're busy, but if you could find 3 hours to watch the damn thing, please do it, because it's got my mind blown.
I'm going to start out with, I feel a little bit bad because this is one of them old calls. It's like 2.5, 3 months ago this call came in. And this guy, I had to cut it off because I didn't want to give away his personal information. He left me his phone number, his email, multiple ways. Like basically he ended the call with, look, man, I even if you don't want to do this on the air, I really want to know what you think about this. So I pulled it up, and in the beginning it starts off with things that I almost just gave up. And by the way, he didn't get the name, Jane or whatever. He got the name of this chick wrong, but I was eventually able to figure out what he was saying and then combine that with what really is. The woman she sounds English, but she presents in some ways it makes me think maybe she's actually Dutch.
She does sound Dutch.
But her name is Janet Osband, or Osbart.
I said Jane Osbart, Jack. I said Osbart. I just said Jane instead of Janet. Give me this shit.
And it's Ossebaard, Janet Osbart or Osbart. The documentary is called Covering the Cabal, the Deep State, and QAnon. And it's a full documentary. It's over 3 hours, and it's on BitChute because I'm sure YouTube banned it. I'm sure. I will bet some damn money on this. And here's my thing. Well, my clearinghouse statement on QAnon. I think if you believe that QAnon is truly, genuinely, an insider or a group of insiders inside the deep state trying to help you, to bring down the deep state from within, that you have been misled by 4chan trolls, and I just can't. I can't go there anymore, but I can put that on the shelf and not worry about it, right? And I will say that there's a lot of people that really believe in QAnon, and a lot of them really do a lot of research and they bring a lot of things to the table, and it doesn't matter that the thing that unifies them is in many ways nonsensical. This breadcrumb thing that I'm going to stop. I don't want it. I'm just going to say, if you can separate that.
I never heard of QAnon before I watched this documentary, and I didn't know what the hell to think about it. Don't make a difference to me if it's real or it's not real. I don't give a shit.
If you like Q, then you don't have to worry about it. And if you think it's stupid, then you don't have to. Then you can just kind of separate that. This documentary has some limited utility. It started out with things like, Hillary Clinton getting away with the email scandal, Barack Obama getting the Nobel Peace Prize, and then proceeding to drop a bomb on somebody every 20 minutes for his entire presidency. Things like that. And it's like, I've seen this before. And then how Trump became president in the middle of all that. And it shows some pretty unflattering pictures of Trump. Later comes back and is very pro-Trump in a lot of ways. And I've only watched maybe 35 minutes of all I had time for. Now, one piece of it goes deep into George Soros, which, again, if you've been doing this a while, yes, I know. Don't. But George Soros, yes, I know. But it really, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I know. Like, that's such a small piece of the whole thing that I'm not going to go down that well with you. Just settle. But the funding and how the caravan, remember the caravan that had a big influence on the midterm elections and gave the Democrats back control of the House in a lot of ways, I believe, though historically that probably would have happened anyway. It maybe made it a little bit more overwhelming. It did influence a lot of opinions and decisions because people are stupid. It's not. This thing did the best job of tearing that thing apart for the pantomime bullshit it was I've ever seen. Right down to the fact that some of these supposed poor people who were wearing brand new clothes and completely clean and nice, like they just had a fresh shower after supposedly trekking thousands of miles in the dirt in flip-flops, many of them were wearing color-coded bracelets that were used by the media to set up shots and some other things. And it did a really good job of destroying that narrative. So there's probably other things like that in it. But this is my thing when it comes to, like, the deep state. When you start trying to provide me evidence that the deep state exists, I don't need to hear it. It's like you're bringing, and I don't mean to insult anybody, because I'm going to get to defending the other side of this in just a second. So please bear with me if this stuff's important to you and you're new to this. But it's sort of like you've got somebody who's working on calculus, and you want to explain to them a really cool way to memorize their 1 through 12 times tables.
Such an asshole.
I've been there. It has utility.
I love it.
I'm busy with this calculus equation right now. Let's not. I'm not going to go down with you and talk to you about this one multiplication in the middle of this thing. I'm busy. You kind of feel that way. But I think that, like, even I was like, wow, on the caravan stuff. So wow. I'll probably plod through the rest of it a little here and a little there. So I think there's some utility in it. Now I want to talk about the newborn, born-again baby into the liberty movement and into the world that really is, and the deep state here. So the deep state, to me, the only thing you need to tell somebody, and if they don't understand this, you're not going to get through them anyway, to convince them there is a deep state, is a very well-known mainstream phrase that goes back forever, but we've heard a lot of, even in school, since the nuclear age and the potential for nuclear war. And that phrase is continuity of government. The fact that there is a continuity of government plan, if you have any logical capability in your mind, infers there must be what is known as a deep state. People that actually can do things and call shots behind the scenes that you don't ever get to see or hear about, or elect or vote out of office, etc. You want me to prove the deep state exists? Anthony Fauci has had basically the same job since the Reagan administration. And he's had a lot of power since early in the Carter administration. A lot of you listening to this weren't even alive when Jimmy Carter was president. Okay? This man has had the ability to move around billions of dollars unchecked since Jimmy Carter was president, and at the level he's doing it now since Ronald Reagan was. If I have to explain to you that means there's a deep state in the bureaucracy, then I can't help you. And no video like this will probably change that for you. Unless
I wasn't arguing the existence of the deep state. There was some stuff at the end of this video, of this documentary, that I didn't think, it just blew my mind. And I didn't know what to think about it. I had quite a bit to drink, and I just got done with this film about Hollywood and like elites killing babies and drinking the blood and minors and stuff like that. And I just wanted to know if that was real shit, because I'd never heard anything like it. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I love conspiracy theories, and it's not that I buy into them or that I believe them, but I'm not one to say that it's not possible either. You know what I mean? I can't pick a side either way, because I don't fucking know, and I don't think we're ever gonna know a lot of that stuff. At least not however they do it. Don't they have a thing where after 20 years or something like that, they put it out, they give you all the information? But like Operation Paperclip happened, and what's the other one? MK Ultra, the LSD. The government's done some wild shit, and they've covered up some wild shit. So I don't necessarily believe all of it, but I don't necessarily not believe it either. I think all that shit's interesting, and I take it with a grain of salt. And you know, that could happen. That's crazy. That could be a thing. But this one about killing, like torturing kids and drinking their blood for a drug, adrenochrome in there. What the fuck? That's all. I just never heard anything like that. I was like, Jack, is this real? Is this really happening? And you just had to shit all over me, Jack. That's okay. It didn't hurt my feelings. I'm serious. I thought this shit was funny. Anyway, back to it.
You're somewhere ready to like open up to the fact that a lot of the things that you believe are not true. Until you're somewhere ready, this won't help. If you are, these are the kind of things that kind of move you in the right direction, get you started. And this is what happens. That person goes from, gee, everything's swell, to, I'm not so sure about this, to, oh my God, I got to tell everybody. And go back to the analogy with like that person coming into a group that's already been there 10 years ago. Now imagine you have like a group of 15-year-olds working on a project, right? And they've been working on this project together for a year. And these are really squared away 15-year-olds.
The hovercraft.
I mean, these are homeschool 15-year-olds. They're working on this scientific project to make a hovercraft. And they actually have a working prototype. And a 9-year-old goes on Google, never even knew that there was a hovercraft.
Fuck you, man.
Google's ways to move without wheels, and eventually finds hovercraft, and finds a picture of a hovercraft. And these really expensive things, and some of them work and some of them don't, and this way you can make one yourself with a leaf blower and a tarp and a piece of plywood, and it's a project kids do in high school, and holy shit, there's such a thing as a hovercraft. And you got your 15-year-olds, and they're building like kind of this, like something that adults would be like, holy shit, y'all should patent that, right? And they're working away on it, and a 9-year runs in and goes, hey guys, there's a hovercraft. Do you know what a hovercraft is? We got to make a hovercraft. We need a piece of plywood, and we need a tarp, and we need a leaf blower. and these 15-year-olds are like, yeah, that's cool, kid. Why don't you go do that? No, we got to do it. We got to do it. Like, no, we did that when we were 10. You're a little ahead of us, actually. So go find some other 9-year-olds and go build your hovercraft. Now, that's not shitting on the 9-year-old.
Oh, yes, it is.
Which a lot of people take it that way when you explain it like this. Like, you know, oh, you say that you're... No, I'm just saying we did this already. We had our wake up. And we've progressed. We've realized that all the activism that gins up around, we're going to fight this. And this was just in our first episode of Unloose the Goose. We talked about this mega cycle trend.
I fucking love Unloose the Goose. Just throwing that out there.
The ending of an age and the beginning of a new one. And all this turmoil having happened so many times in history. And at this point, you got to get a surfboard and get on it and ride that wave and figure out how to deal with it instead of thinking you're going to resist it or fight it or pick a side.
I don't need a surfboard, Jack. I got a fucking hovercraft.
And I implore so many of you still to please get the book. The Illuminatus, like Illuminati, the Illuminatus trilogy, which is a complete work of fiction that has so much truth in it, and you'll understand that if you take a position in any of these groups, no matter how much they're made to look like outside of the system groups, in the end, you're being used by the George Soroses of the world that you think you're fighting. And if you read that book and you really understand what it's trying to say, and if you can get through without feeling like you dropped a bunch of acid, you'll recognize that pattern and you will abstain from it. So does that mean that the person that has this experience, that watches a documentary like this, that gets on fire with it, that's screaming and yelling and picking a side and does that mean that there's anything wrong with that? No, because it's usually, for everybody, to a degree, including myself, mine wasn't so much the conspiracy theories, it was Ron Paul. Ron Paul, Ron Paul, Ron Paul, Ron Paul, Ron Paul. You got to hear about Ron Paul. You got to hear, and like, I remember like people that were more in the anarcho-agorist bent when I was Ron Paul this, Ron Paul that. This is before I even did the show. I remember the looks I got. I was the 9-year-old trying to make a hovercraft out of a piece of plywood in a tarp and a leaf blower, and these guys were zooming down the road. It wasn't that I was wrong. They were just, we did that already. But look what I do now. And if I didn't have that moment, would I even be here? If I didn't have a seminal moment like that, would I even be here? I think there's a lot of truth in the fact that you didn't get the full story about 9/11. But I also think, most of the conspiracy things just are not, it was a controlled demolition or whatever. I don't believe that. I know a lot of you are triggered now because you do. That's fine. My point is, I don't. But one of my best friends, one of the members of the Goose Group, right? John Bush. It was a 9/11 documentary that woke him up. And he went to be a radical activist, got himself arrested a couple times in protest and going to make it. And now it's all action. And so many people that I know that are rock stars in this world of getting shit done in the name of liberty without picking a side and getting into a fight where you cannot win. If you get into a shit-throwing contest, no matter which side you pick, you're going to get covered in shit, as blatant as I can make it. So many of those people, they picked a side in the shit-throwing contest, they started flinging shit, they got shit flicked on them long enough that they went, wait a minute, this sucks. And they evolved. So if this is what wakes you up, good. Because I believe that once you start down this path, there will come a point where you'll realize all I'm doing is actually helping what I think I'm fighting. And you'll start turning toward that circle of control. You'll start out in the circle of concern. You'll move into influence. You'll try to expand your influence by forcing it on people that aren't ready yet. That will suck, so you'll contract back into your circle of influence. And pretty soon, one day, you'll wake up and go, 99% of my effort from now on must go into the things that I can actually control. And then you'll start saying to yourself, well, this thing that prevents me from doing what I say I want to do, how can I fix that? Instead of, gee, I wish that wasn't there. Instead of saying, how can I change that? Meaning I want somebody else to change it for me. How can I fix that for me? I don't care if I fix it for everybody. How do I fix it for me? Once I fix it for me, I can say, this is how I fixed it for me. And if you don't want to do it that way, you figure out another way, but I can't fix it for you. So I love this. As far as a deep state, yeah, there's a deep state. Every state is a deep state. There's no such thing as a state without a deep state. And the more you build a bureaucracy, the deeper the deep state goes. There are 535 congressmen, a relatively small body known as the cabinet. There's the President of the United States, and there's the judicial system. The number of bureaucrats outweigh those positions that either are appointed or elected by about 1,000 to 1. If I need to explain to you how that results in a deep state, there's no point in me explaining it to you because you're not ready to understand it yet. It's not that you can't, it's that you don't want to. Let's take another one.
There you have that, folks. Apologize for the lighting. It's gotten a little darker. Sun's gone down as I sat out here editing this video and whatnot. Definitely, if you have not looked into Jack Spirko and the Survival Podcast, do it. You will not regret it. If you're interested in this kind of thing, in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, Jack Spirko's your man. The Survival Podcast will never steer you in the wrong direction. And also, Unloose the Goose is another podcast that will do the same thing. And this Unloose the Goose is a huge thing. For those of you who are not in this space yet, Unloose the Goose is huge. It's like a super group. It's like the Highwaymen of country music. It's like the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young of folkish classic rock music. It's a super group. It's a super podcast group. It's got Jack Spirko kind of push the whole thing to fruition, but you've got Nicole Sauce, you got Sal Mayweather, you got Peter Quiñones, you got Xavier Hawk. We've got a new guy now, CJ, Professor CJ, and that guy is something. He's a history teacher, professor, but he does a podcast thing to teach the history that they don't let him teach, and it is badass. Peter Quiñones is the man beyond the wall, and he's just diehard anarchist, crazy shit, and smart, just the smartest motherfucker you ever heard of. He breathes books. It's crazy. Nicole Sauce was a TSP member who through Jack's mentorship turned into a podcaster herself, and is also the founder of Hollow Roast Coffee. So you got that. Xavier Hawk, I don't know a whole lot about Xavier Hawk. Sorry X. I know his website is Fire on Global Partners, with fire spelled as a PH. And John Bush, that's the one I missed. John Bush, founder of Brave Botanicals. I tried to Kratom. I did. I got the free ounce. I got the free ounce of Kratom from John Bush's website, and I wasn't crazy about it. It tastes good. It tastes a lot like matcha, but it's really good for pain and anxiety, and for some of you, and for opioid cessation. It's a very good way to help with that. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, bravebotanicals.com. You can get a free ounce to try it out and see if it helps you. And I would recommend it. I mean, I'm sure it's got to be a hell of a lot safer than fucking opioids. So with that, this has been another Hoobie Doop with O'Leary's Garden. Jack, I love you. I hope none of this offended you in any way, because I didn't mean to. And if you like these videos and the work I'm doing here, please help support me by offering me a like and a subscribe. I'm really trying to build this stuff up here at the moment. And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.